Mega, damn it! Welcome to 2-Bit Gaming. Today's topic, Bleemcast, Gran Turismo 2. To say the PlayStation was a popular system would be like saying, the ocean is wet. Some of the best games of the 32-bit generation were exclusive to the system, and both Sega and Nintendo fans alike were forced to pick up a PlayStation. In 1999, at the peak of the original PlayStation's popularity, a small company with the odd name Bleem came out of nowhere with an emulator that allowed PC users to play PlayStation games on their desktops with enhanced resolution and graphic filtering. It seemed crazy at the time, but it worked, save for a few glitches here and there. Unfortunately, they dropped support while Windows 98 and ME were still in use, and it doesn't work natively under Windows XP. The company then showcased at E3 a Bleem for Dreamcast that would later be known as Bleemcast. They promised to support all PlayStation games. That later was limited to 100 game packs and eventually dropped to 1 game per Bleemcast pack. Only 3 were ever released. Today I'll be talking about Gran Turismo 2. Just so you're not confused, the game is not included. So in addition to buying Bleem for Dreamcast, you also had to buy a copy of the game. This is not a review of Gran Turismo 2. I'm more of an arcade race fan anyway. I'll mostly be talking about how well the emulator enhances the game for play on the Dreamcast. Bleem for Dreamcast is basically a boot disk. You first place the software in your Dreamcast and turn it on. Once booted, you'll see a menu screen with a nice graphic. Pressing B lets you format a Dreamcast VMU to act as a PlayStation memory card. Once you do this, it can't be used for anything else until you reformat it, so be careful to back up saves you don't want to lose. Because the Dreamcast has a different set of buttons, you can check the translated controls. It controls exactly the same as with the PlayStation controller, since Gran Turismo 2 never used all the buttons anyway. Bug Alert details a few graphical glitches that I'll explain later, as well as a warning about an early version of Gran Turismo 2 that Sony released with a memory card error. Once you're done setting things up, open the system, swap the boot disk for the game disk, and from here on out your Dreamcast will act as if it's a turbocharged PlayStation. It's kind of weird at first to see a 128-bit system pretending to be a 32-bit system. It's even stranger to think a Sony game is actually running on a Dreamcast. Anyway, the first thing you'll notice is the game now runs in 640 by 480, or double the resolution of the PlayStation original. That alone is better even than the PlayStation 2 backwards compatibility mode. Everything is clearer, and what was once pixelated now has definition. Next, you'll notice the anti-aliasing, which smooths the polygon edges and textures. The result is a much nicer looking game. It's almost as good looking as an early Dreamcast game or one of those shoddy ports that didn't even try to use the Dreamcast's power. As good as the original looks, I've always preferred Namco's Ridge Racer, which, in my opinion, was a better looking game and, because of my tastes in racing games, more fun as well. Anyway, while the game now looks much better, you'll notice some of the same graphical problems that plagued the PlayStation. Polygon tearing and perspective correction errors are now almost more visible due to the upped resolution. Some would have been lost in the PlayStation's pixelization, but with Bleemcast, it's impossible to ignore. It doesn't ruin the experience, but if these glitches could have been ironed out, the game could have passed for a native Dreamcast game.
These your keys?
No.
These your keys.
Yes.
No more driving for you.
Hey! Bastard.
This too.
So, how well does Bleem for Dreamcast Gran Turismo compare to an original Dreamcast game? Compared to a Dreamcast racer like Test Drive Le Mans, it looks simplistic, if not still stylish. Le Mans uses every trick in the Dreamcast arsenal to render car and track detail that blows Gran Turismo 2, even Bleem, out of the water. Of course, this isn't surprising. The two games are separated by a leap in technology. I just wanted to show how Bleem for Dreamcast compares to, well, Dreamcast. It enhances everything, the good and the bad. With some tweaking, it could have been possible for Bleem to fix some of the more glaring glitches. Unfortunately, the company closed its doors, so we'll never see an improved version. You may have noticed that I didn't talk about the audio. Well, I couldn't tell the difference. Now it's time for Kane's 2 Bits. 1. This is really more of a novelty than anything else. It's become kind of rare, and you might be asking yourself, why would I need to play Gran Turismo 2 on Dreamcast when Dreamcast already has Sega GT, and the PS2, PSP, and PS3 all have new editions of the series? Well, I can't argue with that. It is a cool collector's piece, though. 2. As you could probably guess, Sony didn't like the idea of their games being played on hardware they didn't sell. Sony sued Bleem into oblivion, which, because no laws were broken, I consider a crime against gamers. I'll explain it in more detail in a later episode when I talk about the last of the 3 Bleemcast discs. That's my 2 bits. Next time I'll talk about the second Bleemcast release. As always, I'm your humble 2-bit gamer. Thanks for watching.